You're listening to Dude Podcast with JC and Will. Put some pep in that step. Enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Will.
And I'm JC.
And you are listening to Dude Podcast.
We have so much to share with you, duties, because live from New York.
It's Saturday Night Live.
We did it, duties. We told you early in the season, you know what? Our goal was to get to Saturday Night Live. We made a pact with each other. We
every
told
night,
our wives.
Every night after we put our jammies on, we kneeled down on our beds and we said, "Dear Lord, please bless us with the gift of SNL." And prayers were answered because we did it. We signed up. Well, set the scene here. Thursday, 2 weeks ago, JC and I wake up early, or we wake up and we get prepared because at what time was it? 10 o'clock.
10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central.
Yeah.
On the NBC website, there is an opening for the standby line for Saturday Night Live. And I want to take a minute to take even a step back. So this is something that, again, me and Will had prepared for. We had kind of coached each other on. We had a couple missteps along the way because it's very difficult. You literally have to get onto the NBC website, a specific website, for standby at 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And if you get on there and get through, hopefully you make it onto a website. Like, hopefully you get through and get to a website where you can then pick rehearsal or live show. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, duties, you have beaten 99.9999999% of people who are attempting to do the exact same thing as you.
And let me say this: the crazy part to me about that was JC and I were prepared for it. We said we're going to do rehearsal because we knew that we would get to see a few more sketches. Which boy oh boy did we get to see way more sketches. And also we thought our odds would be higher because most people want to see the live taping. You guys, when we got on that website, it was jammed. Like, I couldn't even get it to load. JC miraculously got to load. By time it loaded for me, it was 3 minutes past its opening time, 9 o'clock, and it was all sold out. And it was like what, 1,000 numbers given out?
No, I think it's actually in like the hundreds. I think it goes up to like 500 maybe.
Okay. And duties, that sold out in less than 3 minutes. Both shows. And so somehow miraculously JC was able to get his computer to load in quick enough. And
this is what happens too, which is kind of crazy. So if you get through, then it pops up, okay, like, do you want 1 seat or 2 seats, right? So you click on 2 seat, and I just, and you have to type in the legal name of who's showing up.
My legal name is William. Your legal name is Joel. You hadn't even put that. They need to see the legal. It's like an airport. And not only that, you are only allowed to select tickets for 2 people, right?
Yeah,
you couldn't
exactly.
Do any
That's
more
the
than
max. The max you can do. And then what happens? What then happens is I got an email back saying, "Hey, great news! You're in a queue. We may or may not assign you a number. If you get number, expect to receive it in the next 3 to 4 hours."
That's right. And so I'm sitting here the odds are low. We knew going into it, the odds are super, super slim we even get a number. And several hours later, I get a text from JC going, "We're going to New York. We got a number." And my wife heard me audibly go, "Oh my god!" Like I said it audibly. She was on a call with a client, and she just hears me go, "Oh my god!" And I had warned her, like, "Hey, JC and I are gonna try this. Odds are really low. We're probably not gonna get it, but we're gonna try it. Just letting you know." She's like, "Okay." Again, you text me, and go, "We are number 67, 77, 76. You were 76. I was
76,
77.
77. So just to also further emphasize the difficulty of getting onto SNL. There's so much about this process that is like very mysterious and very purposely mysterious too.
Mhm.
Like even like when you interact with NBC, they don't tell you anything. Like they
No.
really don't tell you. You're getting bossed around by a bunch of smart NBC pages who kind of wear like school girl outfits and boy outfits, which is kind of weird, but we'll get into that later. But they're not giving you a whole lot of direction or detail. It's almost like it's the epitome of like you get a taste of show business in the sense of like, listen, like I don't have time for you. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of these like, okay, yeah, you're here. Is this your ID? Great. Like you can ask a question. They're polite, but they're not really going to give you any more detail than like what's necessary. And like it definitely feels like you're a burden to them if you're going beyond and above to like try to get clarity on things.
I see the vibe I got when we were in line. I actually made a note that I thought the pages were super friendly. I got the vibe that they were more like, we have no clue what's going on. Like it's almost they're just kind of like, okay, I think you just stand in line here. Like it's kind of crazy how they just whip it together, but it's because they do put a lot on these like college student pages to like line everybody up, get everybody in order, and it was kind of fascinating when we show up. It's just they're really just trying to scramble and get everybody in the right order for us to sit there for 5-6 hours.
So the other couple things I want to mention. So there's the way that we got in, and the way that which is the lottery system, where again you physically have to show up in New York. So Will bought a flight. Will bought a flight that night. I literally was on speakerphone with him. I said, "You're buying a flight. You're going to buy the earliest one because I don't want it to be delayed. And I'm going to get us Airbnb, and we are going to New York, and we're going to do this thing."
We did it fast.
And again, this was a day decision to do this. It's the only way most likely you can get in to go. The other way you can get in is through a traditional lottery that happens at the beginning of the year that, from what I understand, is 10 times harder to even get than what we got.
Right.
And then the third way is that you're super rich and well-connected. There is no secondary market for this. That's the other crazy thing.
Someone in the cast or something like that.
You know somebody in the cast, you know the host. Like it is next to impossible to get these tickets. And you start realizing that. And let me tell you, NBC like makes you feel that way as you're going through the process.
And JC and I during this whole thing, even though we felt pretty good about our number, like I think at a certain number we would have been like, it might not be worth it. But we felt good enough about our number that we were like, it's worth it just to experience what it's like to be in the line for SNL.
Yeah.
Like we kind of had this vibe of like, even if we don't get in, it'll be cool saying we did the line. For SNL.
Yeah. So the prep for this was pretty funny. So I ended up going to Target that night, getting a bunch of snacks. We did a pretty good job being prepared. I would say of all the people in line, we actually were probably some of the most prepared. We had I got like cheap like fold out chairs, like camping style chairs. And there are also, by the way, there are rules to like what you can and cannot bring within. They're very specific about the chairs, like what you can bring, some of those things. And of course, listen, if we're going to be outside and it's going to be like 30 degrees in New York in February, right? You got to dress the part. So of course, I wore my mother-in-law's ski suit from 1970 or 1980, which is, let me tell you, it's a sight to behold.
He looked ridiculous. We'll share this. If you're listening to this, go to YouTube and watch it because we'll share pictures of it. I said JC kind of looked like a Teletubby of sorts. Like it was kind of insane.
Yeah. I had that, and I had the Macho Man Randy Savage, like orange orange glasses that like, take up your whole, that visor style, like Patrick Mahomes kind of tried to bring them back style glasses. And I was wearing, and the headband from last week.
Yes, the headband we talked about last week. And here's the funny thing about your outfit is there's like a 30 minute to like 45-minute window where you stand in line, and they just need to they need you to stand there, and they just make sure everyone's in the right order, and you show your ID, and once they kind of get you all settled, then you can sit down, and then you're allowed to leave and get food, or you're allowed to go inside the building's wide open. You can go in the building, and there's a bunch of shops down there. It's almost like a little mall on the bottom floor. So I was like, I gotta go pee, so I leave. And as I'm walking to get a coffee and pee, and I thought to myself, with the outfit that JC's wearing, and just knowing how friendly and chatty you are, I'm gonna come back, and you're already gonna be friends with everyone there. And sure enough, I get us coffees. I come back, and you have already made friends with everyone in our area. That we sat next to the coolest group of girls, and we kind of became friends with them. And yeah, I was like, that outfit plus your personality was a magnet for making friends.
Yeah, and I think that combined with what we then later found out really was the host. So we didn't do a ton of research. We didn't care who the host was, right? It was again, my running joke was it could have been they could have rolled out a rock out there, like a physical rock.
Yeah.
And me and Will would have been
we wouldn't have cared.
Beside ourselves.
Right.
Because again, we've been obsessed with SNL. I also want to emphasize that, in a weird way, we watched, I had the Will Ferrell and Adam Sandler DVDs, and we're just so kind of in love with sketch comedy, and we did a bunch of sketch comedy and stuff growing up. So this show really is in a weird way an important chunk of our friendship. In a strange it's sort of a friendship adjacent, if you will. It's always sort of been part of our relationship, and what kind of hey, that's a funny thing that we've always we stay up and watch if we're at sleepovers together or whatever. So us being able to do this was pretty dang magical in and of itself.
And to be, I feel like you went into this the same way as me. As I was less concerned about the cast or the episode as much as I was just seeing what being there felt like, and what seeing quote how the sausage gets made, and just getting to see how small it is and experience it. I was not really concerned with the host, who ended up being incredible, by the way.
Fantastic.
And the cast, who ended up being so good. We contest that it was the best episode of the season so far.
Yeah, and it feels per the reviews, even online, the feedback has almost been that.
And that we weren't going in there, so it was a delightful surprise on how good the episode was. But I mean, you can speak to this, but my mentality was just, I want to see what it's like.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of to recap, we get in line, and again, wearing this ridiculous outfit. By the way, as Will mentioned, it had the ability to make friends. It also, this is pretty funny. So as we're trying, it felt a little bit like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, getting to Rockefeller, right? So Rockefeller is in Midtown Manhattan. So think of it as this sounds silly, but central New York City, if you will, kind of the middle of New York City, if you will. So we were staying in Hoboken, place I live, place I know very well, and really, candidly, the reason I like it so much: easy to drive into, easy to drive out of. Well, not so much this time. I lived there for over a year and still commute there all the time. Worst traffic. It took me the last 45 minutes of the trip. It was me just trying to move all of 2 miles into Hoboken.
Yeah.
Which was insane.
Yeah.
So already running a little bit late, getting some heart palpitations. Will's having problems getting to the Airbnb. All right, fine. We got our snacks. We got our stuff. I put on my snow outfit. I put on my Macho Man suit. Fantastic. Boom. You know what we're going to do? We're going to go right to the path. The path is the subway for dummies. For all of you who don't know what the path is, it's basically a stop that goes from Hoboken into New York City. It's about 5 stops. So it's fantastic for people like me who have real issues navigating certain things. It's easy. We were going to get off on, I think, the 34th Street stop, and it was going to be like a 10-minute walk to Rockefeller. Piece of cake. We would have had an hour of extra time. Could have grabbed dinner, all this great stuff. Well, for the only time in my life that I've seen this, we're running to the path. The path is down. And I'm like, I even was perplexed when I talked to, you remember that, Will, when I was talking to the guy, I was like, what's going on here? He's like, hey, the path is down.
It was shut it. Yeah, it was completely closed off with cones and everything. And he literally was like, you can either walk a mile this way and get on to another entrance to the path, or you can take the ferry.
Well, so he was trying to get us to take the bus, and I'm like, bro, it's listen, there are layers of Dante's Inferno. There's all the layers of hell. Yeah. One of them is 5 o'clock on a Friday to get into New York City via the tunnel. That's one of the layers of hell. No, we're not going to take the bus in to freaking New York City at this point, at this hour. We got it. The subway's one thing. It's easy peasy. You don't have traffic. So we're sprinting to the ferry. And my gosh, man, I'm wearing my ridiculous outfit. People are high-fiving me on the way just because I look so ridiculous. And no joke, the ferry, the little arm that lets you on the ferry is coming down at this point. And the man who normally would be he looks at me and sees how ridiculous my outfit is. And I swear to God, that was the reason. He just exhaled and he was like, all right, come on. And because we were
we had to we almost got cut off from, that's right.
Yeah, to get on the ferry, which was absolutely hilarious. So anyway, we show up at it's Rockefeller Center. We're in line. We make friends with the girls. We hang out with these girls for the majority of the night. And by the way, we start figuring out at some point, I don't think all these people are huge SNL fans.
There was a familiar demographic, or a demographic that felt like maybe we might not have been in.
Yeah, it was all women and men that, definitely, were
more feminine than we are, for sure.
Yes, of course, yes. It was women and gay men. Let's just say what most of the crowd. Also, crazy thing too, you turn around and we recognized, oh my God, we are really far up, because it was just a line. We couldn't even see the end of the line.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people in front of us, but there was a ton of people behind us.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, but what was so fun about it is how nice and excited everyone was. Everyone was just so happy for the other person in line. We did it, kind of. That kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Everyone was just so friendly, and
it was like a fraternity, sorority, and they brought soup out. They brought. Remember,
they brought SNL. The pages brought us soup and.
Yeah, hot chocolate. And I mean, it was you did need to prepare for the elements. I did see a lot of people that I'm you do know you have to be outside. There were people that were dressed they had no idea that this was outside. And I was you do know, it's February in New York. It's going to be miserable.
I mean, toward the last hour, it was in the 20s for sure. And it was very cold. At the beginning, it was it's chilly. At the end, it was super, super cold.
Yeah. So you sit in line with your line mates, and you make it through basically till you start. It's basically from 7 to midnight, and then they're occasionally checking IDs and stuff. They probably check it 3 or 4 times to make sure no funny business is happening.
They did check it a lot. Yeah.
the line polices itself, right? Like everybody knows kind of what's going on.
But the other thing you're not mentioning is when you get there between 6 and 7. At 7, they give you a blue card that gives you your number on it in line, your place in line, and so
exactly.
You have to stand in line in conjunction.
And they recount it. They recount it constantly
many
to make
times.
sure.
Yeah,
that nothing weird's going on. Oh, so here's where we really figured out who this guy was. So okay, huge crowd. The news is there covering this, and we're like, huh. And like, then we really start finding out. The girls in line are like, "Do you not know who this man is?" And we're like, "No. Like, tell us about Connor's story."
Ladies and gentlemen, Connor's story.
Connor's story is the star of a show called Heated Rivalry. And Heated Rivalry is a show about two hockey players who came into the league at the same time. And it turns out these two boys have a secret. And their secret is they like each other a lot.
That's an understatement. They want to rub hot honey all over each other's bodies and lick it off. That's and you know how we know that is because the girls in line were like, "You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it." And so we're like, "All right."
We're like,
and
"Yeah,
boy,
like we should watch. This is our guy. Like we're in line to watch our boy, host. Like, and that's our guy. Like we became instant. We're like, of course we should watch the show.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, you see a lot of that man. It's a lot of butts, and it's just a lot of
steamy pieces of cheeks everywhere. Oh,
men on men, steamy action, man. Men on men. And I'll tell you what, they're a couple of hunks. They are a couple of hockey hunks.
No. I mean, listen. I see what, and I had heard of the show before, but I just didn't, I was like, well, it didn't pique my interest. I was like, gay hockey players, great, all for it, but like, that's not my show. That's not, not gonna watch that. You and I watched it, and I was like, I see why people are. This is a steamy show.
You know what I say? It's kind of like, listen, I've never been a martini guy, right? I've never been a martini guy. I appreciate the martini. I think it looks really good. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I almost wish I liked a martini. You know what I mean? That looks really good. I'd love that martini. That kind of was the show. Like, I appreciated it. I kind of I get it. I get why people like it. Not necessarily my favorite thing, but also it made me understand, I get why the fanfare is happening. So anyway.
That's a great analogy, yes.
So other interesting factoid before we kind of move on. The one thing that shocked me, some of the cast members just come in and out the front of the building.
Ben Marshall, we saw Ben Marshall.
We saw Ben Marshall. We saw
Ashley Padilla.
Ashley Padilla, who actually talked with us, which was pretty cool. Ashley, she appreciated us, and it meant the world that she was talking and interacting with us. I mean, I think we said a couple things to her, which was cool. I mean, that was pretty awesome. Cam Patterson came out. I yelled at him a joke that I knew that he would do on Kill Tony. He talked back at me. It was really, really cool. That was the oh my god moment. These are real people and they're interacting with us, and it was pretty neat in that way.
that was fun.
Yeah. Also, real quick, do you want to talk a little bit about Rockefeller? Because Rockefeller's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, it's huge. This building is massive, and they have a downstairs basement area that kind of goes underground, and it's a mall down there. It's all kinds of restaurants and coffee shops.
There's there's bars. It's really surprising.
Shops, and
you're kind of where am I? It's very strange.
It even takes you out to the rink. If you keep walking far enough, it takes you to the rink where the famous ice skating rink at Rockefeller Center.
Yeah, and a funny thing that we noted too because the funny thing was there was a sketch later on about this, but the fact that there's people ice skating at like, I don't know when they shut that rink down, but like it's late because like we got out of there at like 1 a.m. and like people were still skating. And
I
also
said out
it's like,
loud. I literally said out loud, and this. There's a reason why we're mentioning this. I said out loud, "Who is ice skating at this time at night? Like, how is this fun? Like, who's doing this?"
yeah, it's
I
very
there was a sketch
strange.
about it. We'll talk about it, but
It's very strange, and it's grown adults. Like it's all like, and it's like men and women. It's sometimes it kind of looks like it's
just an odd
dates.
thing
It's
to do at that
platonic.
hour.
It's just strange. I would tend to agree. It's very strange. So we get our tickets, so you go till midnight, and then they recount you, and sure enough, we have moved up 30 spots, and now we are in the 40s, baby. And
we feel good about that.
We feel really good about that. And they say, listen, come back to Rockefeller. You can actually go inside, but come back at 6 o'clock. And so you get these like blue tickets. They're like, if you physically lose that ticket, you cannot go in. So like, you better believe me and Will were checking it. Like, you know how you're on a flight and you're checking your phone and wallet constantly just to make sure it didn't. At least I do that all the time. Like I seem like a crazy person. I'm always checking it to make sure nothing fell out. This ticket, the way I was treating this ticket, oh my God, it was like that egg.
It's like your ticket.
You take that egg home and like in like an elementary or high school, like you have like an assignment, like to keep the egg safe. That ticket was like my egg. I was just like holding on to it, like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah. And you asked me many times, like, dude, you have your ticket, right? I'm like, it's still in my pocket, zipped up. Like, yeah, it was kind of anxiety inducing, but SNL really wants you to want to be there. Like, they prove it in so many ways. Like, how badly do you want this? You got to follow the rules. You got to put in the time, and if you do that, you can get into a taping.
There's no event that I've ever been to that mentally mind F's you like this one does.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah.
So then you show up. We had a whole day. The nice thing is you don't have to show up till 6 o'clock. So basically, rehearsal. A lot of people don't know this. Rehearsal goes on like straight before actual SNL goes on.
Right before.
And so right before it starts at 8 o'clock. And basically runs up until an hour before the show, maybe till 10:30. Is that right, Will?
Yeah,
I think
it was like a 2.5 hour show.
Yeah. So let me also explain the last dynamics of us getting in. Then we'll go through we'll talk through the show briefly, and then kind of how it's changed our thought process in SNL. Yeah. So, you then show up at NBC Studios, and here's the crazy thing. Most people that were in line also show up. So it's literally, you start realizing you start out feeling good about yourself. You're like, okay, I'm inside, I'm here. And then you start seeing everybody else and you're like, oh no, what if I'm not in good shape? Like and the last thing too, I probably should have emphasized this at the beginning. The purpose of this exercise, even though, yes, they want you to want it, and that's a part of it, a lot of it is actually based on the fact that, like, the amount of tickets and the amount of spots available is sort of a living, breathing organism. Mm-hmm. Like, they really don't know how many seats are available until, 10 minutes before the show.
Yeah.
So, like, and it's because, let's say that Connor's Storrie, his whole friends and family were in town, or his
great example. The hockey team, the USA hockey team showed up. The whole team could have showed up, and they'd be like, "Okay, we got some seats for you." Then that means the people who wait in line, there's less of you who go in because the whole hockey team showed up.
Exactly. So
like it ebbs and flows. Who's going to be there?
So yeah, they purposely aren't. Yeah, they're purposely not trying to be jerks. It's just a matter of like that's what it is, and there's the combination of the people actually showing up that won the lottery, the people in the standby, and really like super. Let's just be honest, super well connected, famous people. That's the chunk of what takes up the rest of it. It's only 300 people in that studio. So they start dismissing people finally. And we're like, okay, but we know where we're at in line, and like we see the starting point. The starting point is only like we're only like 3 rows from like where it starts. So we're like, we feel pretty good about our shot at getting in. But they start like sending people home. We had a woman come up to us, say, "Hey, I'm in from Alaska. How much money do you want? Like, we will like." I mean, and at that point, it's like I almost like I was joking. Will was like, she was just being sweet, but for me, I was like, you can't take my money. You can't buy me. Like I probably got like overly.
You were like,
I was like, what do you think I can be bought? Like, like I didn't respond that way, but like that's how I felt because it was like, what I've been through.
Well, to be clear, can I speak on the journey that we took? Because
yeah.
So when you get your ticket and you go stand in line, you're in the SNL or the NBC gift shop, because 30 Rockefeller Center is not just NBC. It's like a bunch of random businesses. We were in the NBC shop, right? And you form a line inside the shop. And then when they say, okay, you guys are ready to go, they send you 10 by 10. You go in through a door and you wait in a stairwell in line. So we finally go into the stairwell. We're waiting in line. You wait in the stairwell for like 10, 15 minutes. Then they take you up the stairwell into a room. It's this big room. It starts getting real. There's all these like really nice pictures of SNL alum, and it's massive like corridor. And it's kind of like an oval shaped room. And as you walk through it, you see like, what was it? Like, it seemed like 10 elevators.
Yeah.
And you're standing in line and they start handing you wristbands, which I have right here. Your wristband. And once we got the wristband, we knew like...
Well, she's also counting. She's also counting.
Yes.
So you're like getting nervous. You're like, you start trying to count the wristbands because they're just like, you're in a line. They're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is where also they keep the tension going because they're ushering you quick. And then they're just like, 1, 2, 3, 4, go to an elevator. 1, 2, 3, 4, go to an elevator. And there's also like no button on the elevator. They're pushing something and they just put you in the elevator, and it's like you don't.
Nobody's in the elevator with. So it was you, me, and these 2 girls that were behind us. The girls behind us are flipping out, and it's just the 4 of us in the elevator by ourselves. Because there were like 10 elevators. You don't know what's going on. You're just like in this elevator. Nobody pushes the button. It just takes you up there automatically.
Yeah. It's like really walk.
What is happening?
Yeah.
It felt like we were being launched into space or something.
It did. It totally felt like, it really did feel like a Disney ride. Like it did feel like a haunted mansion kind of a situation where you're like, what is happening here? And again, it's just all these NBC pages who, you're right, they are sweet. They're also like
very
super, they're very professional. They're very like, they know what they're doing. It seems like they're in control. They do a great job. The coolest moment as far as like we got there, dude, you're the last to sit down. So you're starting to walk and you start to see the outlines of the studio and you can hear the music. The band is literally playing and it's almost like you're the last people to come in. And like everybody like almost like turns as like to be like, oh my God. And like, like we're bringing the energy.
We saw a silver. So as we're walking, we see these curtains like behind glass, and we see the silver of the like where they do the monologue. And JC turns to me when he saw that. I don't know if you remember this, JC. It was like seeing a boy in a candy store. You turned to me, you just went, and then you gave me the hardest high five I've ever gotten in my life. Like, it was truly like, it was like seeing a kid seeing Santa Claus. Like, it was wild.
It was amazing. It was the only, like, it was like whenever you see like, you're watching the NFL or something, you see, or like an MLB game, somebody hits like a walk-off and they're just giving the hardest high fives that you've ever seen in your life. That's what it was the equivalent of. And so, so then we sit down, the music's going, all of a sudden Marcelo jumps up and he's like kind of giving you this feel like, hey, no cell phones, no this, kind of like what anybody would do at a normal show, kind of giving you the drill. And
Well, yeah, he came out with a microphone. Everyone's freaking out. Like Marcelo shows up just as himself. This is before anything's really rolling, anything's starting. And yeah, you're right. He's like kind of going through everything with you, but also he like gave a shout out to the people who stand in line. He told us it was his thousandth episode.
it was the thousandth episode, but then he said, "That's not true. I just made that up."
Oh, really? I didn't hear that. I was like, wow, he's
yeah.
been on that long?
Yeah, no. He said this is the 1000th episode of SNL, and everyone goes, oh! And he goes, no, I don't really know. I don't really know if it's the 1000th episode. It sounds good though.
Okay.
It sounds
I was like, wow, that's crazy.
He was great, and he has a pretty good stand-up special that's out too. I mean, he has so much aura to it. But I guess, what are your initial thoughts when you get in the studio? What were your takeaways? What did you think of the actual studio, and how would you describe it for people that have only seen it on TV?
The first thing here's the thing. You and I, everyone there is so elated to be there. I mean, there are better seats in the house. We were on
much better seats than we had.
We were on the very back to the side. So like, I wouldn't say we had the best view, but because like the way that studio is set up is, I didn't know this. I thought there were 3 stages and they alternate them. No. They use every bit of that studio. Every stage is just in a random spot in that room that they kind of set up at, right? Which means they have to have lights everywhere to set up for these certain stages. So I'll share a picture. If you watch on YouTube, you weren't supposed to take pictures, but your boy is naughty, and so I took a picture. Lights everywhere on the ceiling. Yeah, I mean, and not only that, like there's props everywhere for like setting the stages. It's kind of a mess, really, but it's wild to see.
It's chaos to see it, and also the cool thing is like to see all the things that are, because it's almost like the sketches happen in such a way where it's almost like little like corners of the pockets of the theater that you're in, more or less, and it makes it look so much bigger. But in the meantime, like we saw Lorne Michaels. Lorne Michaels was just out. He was watching. He was looking at his watch.
He's a teeny little man.
He's a tiny little man. He had a suit on, and he was just applying chapstick. He was looking at his watch, and he was just, kind of like taking it. This is his thing. This is like this is what he does. This is every Saturday night. This is what's going on. There's so much chaos going on as far as like people setting things up. There's people doing the final writing out the words that go on the cue cards, because the cue cards are actual physical cue cards. They are not. It is not a like you would get on the Anchor. What is that? The machine that has all the words on it. I'm blanking on the name of what that is, but so because, and part of it is because everything, even at that, because so you're at a dress rehearsal, so it is actual dress, and in theory, it's most of what they're going to show on the live show, but they have an additional hour of latitude to, put some additional sketches in to figure out what's actually going to stay. They're going to base it upon, I think it's really based upon response to the crowd, like what hits, because it's the first time they do it in front of a live audience. Secondly, I really think a big part of it is just flow. And I think we were talking about this. I think that's kind of where that's where Lorne's job is probably the most difficult, because I think it's a matter of going, okay, like, there were things that we saw that got cut that I actually felt like, why did that get cut? And my guess is it had to do with time and like overall flow more so than like, comedic response.
He's playing chess with it. Because, he's looking at how long it was, what was funny, what's going to flow. Yeah, like you said, like, this one hit really hard, this one was okay, this one hit hard. Like, it's crazy because from what we saw versus what was live was totally different, just in chronological order.
And also what I'd say, too, is the pacing of the sketches are different. Like, they definitely... The versions we saw were a little slower. They were a little bit... To be honest with you, when you watch... Like, in a weird way, and this is another reason I'm so grateful we saw the rehearsal, like, the show itself kind of plays better to a live audience because like they can, at least in a rehearsal form, because you can like, you're not as worried. Like if you're on TV and live TV, every second counts. When it's rehearsal and you don't necessarily have that pressure, you can let some jokes air out a little bit. You can kind of like, you can insert some new things. They could try, like what you see, then the final version of that sketch, let's say the sketch in rehearsal would run 5 minutes and 30 seconds. In the actual show, it may be 4 minutes and 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So they have to cut out some components. So there's some things you see that look a little bit different. And then, Will, to your point too, the sketches, how they like flowed and the order of them was also different. When we actually saw the later live show, but that was unbelievable. One of the other really neat things, and I think like what was really cool was, and I said this earlier, but there was a gentleman who sat, like, I think he was not next to me, but he was one down from me. And when we were going into the studio, he was like waving at people and like shaking hands, and we're like, who the heck is this dude? Like, how does he know everybody? Well, it turns out this guy, who's literally one seat down from us, was at NBC Page, like, and just completed his tenure or whatever as the NBC Page. So what was cool, and he was really cool about this, we would every once in a while turn to him and be like, hey, like, how does this work? Is this like what I think's happening? Like, we asked him again about the numbers of the studio. He told us, like, this is how many people are in the studio. This is the amount of people that get into this. We were like, does Lorne still do the edits, or is somebody else doing the edits? He was like, no, Lorne is still editing and like in complete charge of this show. He was just mentioning some other kind of interesting tidbits throughout the show that was really cool, because it's like, you go there, you think you kind of see how the sausage is made to a degree, but you don't know. To Will's point, it is unbelievable to see the amount of lights and how they make the magic happen and how different it looks on TV. And it really is one of those things where you're like, you hear those, the camera adds 5 pounds or this or that. And like, you really do get to see the magic of it in real time there. And so even if you don't have a good seat, there's monitors that are placed all throughout the studio. And then you get to see how it looks on TV, which is kind of fascinating, because sometimes you're going to get a weird angle, like where we were sitting, like, we may get like the back of Keenan's head the whole time. Or like you may get like a really interesting perspective where like you're getting a very interesting view of one of the actors as a sketch goes on, or you're just reading the cue cards before they play. And so it's really interesting to go back and forth between.
They use every inch of that studio. So every sketch is done in a different part of that studio. So like there were a couple of sketches that by theater standards were in horrible places because almost nobody had a good view of it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because
it's for the live TV. It's for the live TV audience.
And two, like, I don't know, it's just fascinating that they use every inch of that studio. And not to mention the thing that really struck me is there are so many people working on that show. It's wild. Like,
it is
when you're down there and you
crazy.
see the moving parts, it's like seeing an anthill and just a crap ton of ants working. It's crazy.
There's a woman who her only job is to basically like grab the host and like yoink him from like point A to point B, and making sure, and she runs with him, and she's like, it's like your grandmother, literally your aunt. It's more like your great aunt or your aunt. Like she
the job is just to get him ready for the next sketch. I mean, it's really it's and not only that, it's just seeing like it's an organism that every person has one little job and they have to do it correctly. And so you're watching all these people just like, okay, this guy's got this panel for this wall for the sketch. This guy, these two people have to take all the chairs in. This person has to put together, Mikey and Che and Colin's desk. It's wild to see how they all just work in tandem. Like when there's a sketch going, there's people in the background putting things together for the next sketch. It's kind of insane.
Here's what was crazy to me, and I mean this with no disrespect to many other shows you're going to see, but like I like to put it like it felt. And I have to imagine this is the case. The only other things that probably compare to this show have to be like the Grammys or like an Academy Award, like some sort of large live. The live component of it is critical. Like I don't think you realize like when we went to see Jimmy Fallon, like Jimmy Fallon was great. Jimmy Fallon was not live. Like they tape it. But there are times when they'll recut things. Like Jimmy would actually like do a couple times where he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna redo that," or there are some things that would be redone, and it just feels like it feels like anything else I've seen, like the Jimmy Fallon show. With all due respect to the show, because it was a really cool experience and it was awesome. It felt like high school football, and this felt like going to a full blown like NFL game. As far as just the amount of people and the scope and how like it was being treated. And then also just like also like the fact that when that show happens, like you're kind of, it's the zeitgeist of like culture, American culture. Like, everybody is going to, even if like you didn't watch the show, and most people don't watch the show, something will probably come out of that show that's going to be in the news tomorrow or going to be talked about tomorrow. So there is sort of also a magic, and like anybody can be in the crowd. Like apparently Natalie Portman was in like the live show crowd, and a few other, like the American hockey team, like the Hughes brothers showed up for the monologue. And then also the women's team showed up and we had no idea. Like for the band, which I did not think I was a fan of Mumford and Sons, and I was blown away by how good they were live. And they brought Hoser, who sings that "Take Me to Church" song, and no one knew he was there. And he showed up, and we had the girls were crying next to us because I guess they were big Hoser fans. I had no idea. It's just like you just have a moment where you're like, not only are you in, New York City on a Saturday night, but like you're at a place where like people are kind of the whole country, maybe the world is kind of looking towards to be like, hey, what's funny, what's happening, like what can we talk about the next day, which is pretty cool.
But what's interesting to me with everything that you just said, which I 100% agree with you, when I went in there, I thought I was going to feel this sense of grandeur and like it was going to feel like I was on a massive like world stage, which I was, but it's so intimate and it's hard to describe SNL as being scrappy, but they operate like they're scrappy, yet they're on point every time. I can't describe it, but it felt so intimate that it does kind of.
Yeah, it's like gritty. It is. It's like almost got like, and then you look at the people that are working too, and they got very blue collar feel to them as far as like how they're dressed and how they're talking to people, and it does have a very, very interesting vibe where you're like what
it's
is
hard
what
to
is
explain.
This? Yeah,
but
it's
wild.
But
then putting in that in even more context, even as much as it feels really scrappy and they just all band together and make it work, you just told me a couple days ago they average like $4 million an episode.
Yeah. It's one of the most expensive shows to put on a regular basis, and the band is outstanding. Mm-hmm. The quality of again, even the musical guests. I thought about it this way. I've gone to a lot of music venues, and to be honest with you, sometimes the band doesn't sound very good. Like even if it's a good band, they don't sound very good. The quality of Mumford, like it was one of the best music hearing audio experiences I have ever had. And I'm
really,
guessing
really
that is a component of like what Lorne has helped build and invest in. It's pretty impressive because again, you'll go to, you know, I wouldn't say Canes or anything, but I've gone to smaller places and been like, they don't sound very good here.
Right.
So,
you know, one of the things that struck me, so JC and I, you know, we did this 2.5 hour show. We sat through it. We're in awe. We're kind of like riding a high of being there. And we leave. We go to the gift shop. We buy these snazzy sweaters. But we went to a bar, like a nice quiet bar, got a meal, had a couple drinks. We're just riding high on it. And we're like, hey, let's watch the episode on your phone and see now what we just saw, what gets put in, how different it is, because we knew things would be different. And what's crazy to me, the one thing that really stood out to me was there's a sketch with Marcelo Hernandez. He did Mr. Franzi. He's a teacher, really silly teacher, and it's classroom. And when we watched it live, we're like, this is different and not as funny as what we saw. Because what we saw was a really silly version of what was live. And we're like, man, that's a bummer because what we saw was really funny. Then, after we ate, we had a couple drinks, we went back to Hoboken at our Airbnb and we went on YouTube to watch them again. And they posted the rehearsal sketch on YouTube, not the live sketch. So they're also adjusting, like, okay, well, which one was funnier? Then we'll put that on YouTube.
They also inserted it into Hulu, which is wild. Yeah. So which tells you that they are now looking at it like, in a weird way, it kind of even ups the ante for going to a rehearsal, because you could see something that could just as easily air, dependent upon, because what they'll do at that point is be like, okay, what was the best version of what we had? Why not just insert that in case there's a mistake or in case there's something that doesn't necessarily flow as good, which makes a ton of sense. So just also to give a little bit of other context that I thought was interesting, like behind the curtain. So Weekend Update normally goes 30 minutes, which
it was long, and it was my favorite part of the show.
It was legitimately 30 minutes. And the fun thing about that in particular, and it makes sense because it's almost more of a stand-up style component, but like Colin Jost and Michael Che like talk at you a lot. Like they'll like talk to the audience a lot about like, nope, we're going to cut that, or hey, you laughed, we're going to keep that in the show. And
they were doing notes as they were, like that pen paper, they had like they were making notes in between jokes. Yeah, you're right. They would be like, nah, and they scratch it out or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
They're making notes in real time.
Yeah, so the Weekend Update we got, there was 3 drop by, like the jokes themselves, they probably had another 2 or 3 segments of just jokes that they would do back and forth. Then they had, I think 3 different guests that would come in. You know, normally, I think on the show we had, I think there was 2 guests, random guests that came in. There was the Monkees, and then there was the wedding toast. the wedding toast. And the wedding toast was very different also. The live version was very different than the version that we saw.
Again, what we saw was way sillier, what I thought.
She tidied it up.
She was way goofier in that.
Yeah, she changed. She must have gotten some notes. And that's a crazy thing. It's like they're clearly getting all these notes in real time. And that's where I also like, you could kind of see it like from like definitely the tent, like the senior guys, like the Keenans, and like just like they almost had like an aura about them on like in the sketches that like calmed everybody else. And it's hard to like see that, but like when we were live, you could like tell just like how he was talking to people, interacting, people were laughing, people were like, it was almost like you had a couple of these big personalities that would come on the set or certain sketches, and the sketch would almost just like it would like put everybody else at ease, which is such a natural human thing that you would get, at your business or when you're interacting in large groups. But to see it happen like like live like that on a show where there's so much chaos going on is unbelievable. And then I think again I don't really think people give these actors enough credit too, because like to be able to be given notes like an hour before or 30 minutes before going live, and then to put that into the show and to be calm, cool, and collected and to do it. And like, let's be honest, like it's sketch. It's not always going to be funny. It's going to be cringe a lot. It's going to be kind of cheesy. It's going to be like sometimes, but like, man, to like own it and like sell out for it.
Yeah.
Was,
and that's the thing too. Like when you hear people say like, "Oh, SNL's never funny," I'm like, but the part of the enjoyment of it is being marveling at how quickly they put it together. And then, you and I always text with our buddy Jordan Hill. We'll all be in three-way text and be like, "Oh, they killed it on this sketch." It's marveling at the one or two gems they come up with every week, knowing that they throw it together so fast.
Yeah.
So you're right when you know that a sketch isn't going well, and they've had to change it a million times. It's crazy to see their commitment to it still.
I think what actually impresses me more is the ability of the hosts to come into that environment and be able to, especially Connor Storrie. Like Connor Storrie, I didn't know how he was going to do. Again, we didn't really know his work until we watched the episode live in line. That guy,
he crushed it.
He crushed it. He was so funny, and he had like great energy, and great timing, and he could do different voices.
He didn't seem like he was reading the cue cards. Like he looked like he'd been doing it for years. Props to him for like crushing the sketches, but also just seemingly having a great time.
Yeah, and that was another thing I think to give the kudos to the cast for. Like they're very aware of where people are, and we definitely got a lot of love from cast members throughout the course of the show who in between setup would purposely look and like wave and like blow kisses or like they would just point at people. Keenan was unbelievable.
Been there for years, and he was acknowledging the fans. It's like this man does it so many times, and it's not lost on him that like these people worked hard to get here. These fans are what makes the show go. Like it was cool to see that he still acknowledges the people that watch this show and come to the tapings. It was really endearing to see.
Yeah, it was just so neat to see him, to see Lauren. I guess for you, Will, like what was there like a part of the show, like was there anything else, like I guess first off, what was your favorite part of the show experience itself? And like maybe overall, what was your favorite? So like the show itself, what was your favorite part? And then like overall, the whole weekend, the whole process, what was your favorite like highlight, I guess?
Man. Well, my favorite part of the show itself was, Weekend Update was really fun because, like you said, it was like stand-up. Colin and Che have this banter that's really fun to see, and you see it in live, but I do think because we were at rehearsal, it felt more like loose and like fun, and like you said, they interacted with the crowd quite a bit, and you could tell they were having a lot of fun doing it. That was one of my favorite parts, is just seeing how fun they were having, because obviously we have fun seeing them have fun, So that was my favorite. And also, it was kind of crazy to see that their bottom half, because you don't see it, they're not full on suits. They were like untucked, like it wasn't.
Che's wearing MJs. Che's wearing MJs, and Colin Jost has like Vans on or something like that. Pretty funny.
And my second favorite part, going back to talking about the ice skaters, they did this great ice skating sketch about this guy who can't believe how happy these dudes are
Yeah, he's going through. The concept of the sketch is great because he's going through like a failed proposal. It's very emotional, and I also think the sketch is great because any guy can relate to this. Where like you've been having like you're in maybe an argument or dispute or something with your lady, and whatever is going on around you is almost as interesting, if not more interesting, than what's going on in the conversation. But that sketch was absolutely hysterical. And then his teammate from Heated Rivalry unexpectedly shows up. But like, not anyway. You finish, Will, and then I'll tell you the other thing that I thought I liked so much about that, and then I'll go through my points.
So that was my favorite part of the show itself. The experience part of it is the SNL did a great job of taking you through a journey. And what I mean by that is it could have felt very like sterile in terms of like the way the pages treat you. Like, yeah, you're just another person here, blah, 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 and just sit down, shut up, enjoy, like watch the show, and or like the cast could have been ignorant about who was there, and just the show itself was a pleasure to be at. And I kind of was expecting it to be that way, but you make friends with everybody in line. It kind of you said it, JC, at one point. It felt like summer camp, like you're hanging out with your friends at summer camp because you get to know them so well, and by the end of the show, you're like friends with them. So that was fun that they create this experience of getting to know the people you stand in line with, who you end up sitting next to in the show with. So you experience it with these people. And the experience of the pages being, I thought they were just incredibly friendly. It the cast waving at you, acknowledging you. I thought that was nice. They did even before the show, Tommy Brennan and Veronica Slowakowska, I think
it's a tough name.
They performed a song beforehand. It's like,
yeah, they did Prince "Let's Go Crazy" to get the crowd going, and it's just like it's something where it's like it's unexpected.
Yeah,
they had like dance moves, and you're like, let's freaking go! Like you're getting jazzed up, your blood's going just because you're watching that. It was awesome.
I mean, again, like they're SNL, like you said, they're a cultural phenomenon. They could have just been like, "Be grateful to be here. We're putting on a show for you," and instead, it's like their mentality is like, "No, we're still going to give you production value. We're still going to play for the audience here too," and I thought that's really fun to see that they're performing for the people there as well. So I know I left feeling like I got a show. I didn't feel like I was at a taping. I felt like I got a show. I don't know if you felt that way too, but
no, I almost think like I would almost make the argument that like the show is actually much better live. Like it plays 100%. Much better live, and also again we were under such interesting circumstances. Like of course it's going to play that way, but like I mean that's how I would break it down. Yeah. So my favorite sketch is probably the Mr. Franzi sketch, just because that was the first sketch. So like, and it was really good. Like it's a really funny sketch. Like I think it has like 4 or 5 million views right now on YouTube, and like that's a lot for what SNL normally gets now. Just because there's so much content on YouTube, which I think speaks to how funny that sketch is and how good Marcello is, and so again. Connor's story was so good. Night. Oh, yeah. And then, like, every sketch was literally, like, even ones that you were like, okay, I don't know if that's going to make it. Like, it's very funny and very silly. And I think you recognize, like, these people are wildly talented. They're so talented. So, yeah, my favorite sketch was the Mr. Franzi sketch. And then I'll tell you about the experience overall, my big takeaway. But the ice skating sketch, it felt like they read me and Will's minds because, again, we go out of standing in line for 7 hours. We're waiting on a taxi. We're leaning up against, it was sort of magical. Like we're leaning up against like Rockefeller Center. We see all the people ice skating, and me and Will look at each other and we're like, what the hell are these grown adults doing at like 12:30, like on a Friday night ice skating. Like, what's wrong with these people? Now, granted, we waited in line for 5 hours, and people could say the same thing about us, but we were just like, who are these people? What are
like,
they?
who's enjoying a good ice skate at 1 in the morning?
I don't know if I would. If you're my friend, and I'd be like, Will, what did you do? You're like, I just was ice skating at 12:30. You'd be like, where was your wife and child? I don't know. You know, that's what I do. I go and ice skate by myself in the middle of New York City at 1 in the morning. Like, to see the sketch kind of making fun of what that was, like the literal conversation that we had felt like a giant inside joke, and it was just a really, really well done, really funny sketch. The whole thing was just magical. I mean, the whole thing, it had a certain almost like Disney-esque to it, where it's like, you know, like you could tell that everybody who's a part of it appreciates what it is and kind of understands what they're doing, and it just makes the experience that much better. Like, honestly, it was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life, and I cried multiple times, and it was just like, because it was like, this is what I had seen on television since I was literally in 6th grade when I discovered this show when I was sick, and I was watching Comedy Central, and I was like, who are these people? Why are they being so silly? And I was like, and I also, in a way, always felt like that was my dream job, was to be on that show in some way, shape, or form. So to be able to, like, be a part of the show, even from an audience perspective, and get to have a view of something that, like, really nobody gets to have, like, it just felt like the coolest thing. And to be honest with you, not to get all emotional, but the fact that I was there with, like, my best friend, like, that was like, it was like the best thing ever. You're like, I don't know how this can get cooler than what's happening right now. And it was awesome, man. It was just, it was,
knowing like you said, growing up watching this show, you can't help but to think, like, Chris Farley was here, Adam Sandler was here, you know, Kristen Wiig was here,
presidents are here, like, everybody.
Like, Conan O'Brien used to be in the writers' room here. Like, so many legends used to put this show together, and you can't, that feeling is not lost on you either. You're like, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. It was awesome. It's one of those things that if you want to do it, it's not impossible to do. You just got to be ready that, like, hey, get a low number. First of all, camp out. Make sure you got good internet. Camp out online. Try to get into the week when they're hosting, when it's live. Try to do that to get into the show itself, and then just be prepared to hang out. And that's sort of the process in and of itself. And I think also just bring a lot of positivity, because, like, there's no reason, like, you could definitely look at the situation and be like, oh, this sucks. It's like, but, like, why?
No,
you don't, like, why would you want to do that? Like, it's
But we
awesome.
went into it thinking, like, what was magical about that whole experience, I was telling my wife about this, is you go into it with just low expectations. You go into it like, okay, we're going to stand in line, but we don't guarantee we get it. Okay, we make friends. That's fun. We're having fun. Oh, we get to go in the show. Oh, we're going to the studio. Oh, maybe it won't be a great show. Oh, it was a great show. So, like, everything just got better and better and better and better till the end of the night. Like, you and I are on cloud nine. We're like, not only do we get into the show, it was an incredible show. We laughed, we made friends, and then we go out to eat and have this really great meal. And we're just like, this night kind of went perfectly.
Yeah. And the funny thing too, like, the bartender at the place that we ended up was perfect, but you're absolutely right. It was like a bar that was like last call, and they luckily had the kitchen open, and they were really cool to us. They let us, like, drink way later than we should have. And the bartender was like, at one point, he was like, I can't remember how it happened, but we were just like, I think we were like smiling and having such a good, he's like, are you on drugs? Like, what's wrong? He was like, I thought you were like on a lot of coke. Like, I thought you were on a lot of cocaine. And I'm like, no, like we just got back, like we just left SNL and like we are so excited and we're going to watch it live on my phone. And I'm sorry if we're like acting like weirdos. Cause I'm sure we were like, hey, I don't even care what I want to eat. Like, I'm sure we were acting like crazy people. Cause he was like, he kind of was looking at us. And I just had to be like, hey, this is what happened. He was like, oh, okay. Like, I get it. Yeah, sure. Like, you know, again, you're not coked out of your mind. Awesome. It's like, no, we literally just left SNL and we were crazy. Oh, other weird, cool thing that was bizarre. Like, and I don't know why I didn't ask this woman who she was. So after the show, like, you exit and you're in like the NBC store, which is a brilliant move by NBC, by the way, because
you have to exit
they
through
sell
the store where you buy.
Oh my God, you buy $150 worth of merch, easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in there and like we're the last people, partially because again I'm just like beside myself. I can't even take in the account what I just watched. I'm like a mess. And I'm texting people. I'm like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. Like the women's hockey team shows, because I just wanted to ruin it for everybody too. I'm like, you wouldn't believe what I know. I know secrets. I know that the women's hockey team is here. I know that Hoser is going to show up with Mumford and Sons. And like, you know, I know that this is going to happen. It's super funny. And Connor's story is really good. He's going to do a really great job. And like I was a mess, man. I could barely like even like buy anything. I was just
that is true. There was like a good hour where we were some of the few people who knew how the show was gonna go.
Yeah, and that was so cool. It was like a secret almost. But there all of a sudden, there's a woman who's dressed as a Smurf who's also buying a shirt, who was literally in the sketch like earlier in the night. And I'm like looking at her and she's like, yeah, and she was like, yeah, our sketch got cut. And like, it's not a cast member. It's not a player. I don't know who she stood there for a while. And in my head, I probably should have been like, hey, who are you? And why are you in this? Like, that would have been the logical question to ask. But I think I was just trying to be so cool. Like,
we should have been like, come to dinner with us and tell us everything.
Yeah.
We literally should have done that. We
should be like, we will buy you dinner. Like, what do you want to eat?
That would have been incredible, dude.
Yeah, we blew. I think afterwards though, you are so like, there is that sense of like, you do like, there was that like cool factor. You're like, I'm not even gonna act like I know that she was in the sketch. Yeah. It was like, I mean, like I talked to her. We were like, you got your sketch cut. But like the natural thing would have been like, who are you and why were you in this sketch? Like that was like clearly like we would have learned something. It's somebody's aunt. She's a writer. She is Lorne's like nephew. Yeah. I don't know. We don't know. And it was also like a woman in her 50s. Like, who is this woman? Yeah. Like, I don't know. It was wild. The whole thing was just it was awesome, man. Again, everything about it was awesome.
We got it kind of from like A to Z, experienced all the things we wanted to experience with it. And it was
you know what else, though, is my takeaway from that show? Like, you understand why so many people, like, overdosed. Like, once you're, you, like, just the stress. Like, I have to imagine, like, the anxiety, like, and you didn't see it at all. It didn't feel like it in front of us.
You didn't feel it.
But the anxiety that must be going on. I've read enough about the show. I've read some of the Live from New York, like the large book that came out a few years ago. And it kind of highlighted, I think it came out like actually about 10 years ago with the 40th anniversary. And like, there's a lot of people who are like, I want nothing to do with that show. Like the show broke them. There's a lot of stories about how toxic of a work culture it is, how stressful it is, how much manipulation goes on, how many fights are there, how like it's very, very political, and like yeah, like it's a pressure cooker unlike anything else probably on earth. And like, like I think it's almost even more so because like now, like if you just make it on the show, you can probably have a career from social media just from making it on the show. So like there's additional like money to be made by you being adjacent to the show. So it's like the livelihood aspect of it is almost like more important now than maybe it's ever been in that regard.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's just, it's like a locomotive that doesn't really ever stop. So like the people there just like hold on and just play your part. And I don't know. It was fascinating to watch it.
I mean, it's magical. It's an American icon. It's a gem. Hopefully, Lauren finds a predecessor at some point. Hopefully, it's someone like a Tina Fey, who I think would do an excellent job, kind of ushering in that next show or that next generation of or version of the show. Although the show has. I think that's the other thing is the show has adapted pretty damn well to everything else. I mean, it's my hope is it's one of those things that sort of kind of holds out because I think it's so important. I think it's so important to have something like that allows you to take sort of stock of what's culturally happening, be it politically or like funny trend or inside. I mean. That's one of the things that SNL has always done really well. Even if some people don't like it or they're like, oh, it's too this or too that, like they usually hit the nail on the head. And I think what also is pretty cool about the show is, I do think we were at a time. I want to be careful as I say this because it's a little. I do think there was a little bit of a time where everybody was a little so concerned about getting canceled or playing it safe comedically that I do think it sort of created, I don't know, it almost created humor that I think there was a time where people were so worried about how it would be perceived or judged that there were a lot of jokes that should have been made that weren't. And not to like make fun of, I mean, some of it was to make fun of people, but like, I think I do prescribe to the idea, and I think SNL always has, is like, make fun of everybody. Like, no one should be better. Like, everybody should be able to be made fun of. And I think SNL has really leaned back into that. Whereas I think for a while they were like so worried about that. And I think that's a good thing because I think that means if you're a Republican or you're a Democrat or you're this, or you're even like a marginalized group, hey, there's going to be a joke made and it's okay because there's also going to be jokes made at another group of people. And it's not to make you feel ostracized. It's more to be like, hey, we should all, like, if you can't laugh at yourself, like, life's too hard. And I think the show has done a really good pivot towards that in the last few years. So,
I mean, what an experience though. It lived up to my standards and then some.
Yep.
I mean, it was just so fun.
It was cool. It was really, really cool. So anyway, duties, hopefully, like, this is somewhat entertaining for you to understand kind of what went on behind the show. I think it's fascinating. The process is really something that's crazy. Thank you to our wives who are willing to just roll with it.
Like, scramble. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was just a complete like audible there. But I mean, that's the kind of stuff you have to do for kind of a once in a lifetime sort of thing like this. So it was awesome.
If you're listening to this, watch YouTube because we're going to try to pepper in some of the photos that we took.
And also, too, if you have comments or questions, or there's something that you're like, hey, how did this work? Like, I think we learned enough. That's the other cool thing, too. It's like, nobody really knows this stuff, and they don't purposely, like, make it readily available. So if you do have questions or something you'd like to try, or I don't know, like, feel free to leave a comment, or even like DM us or reach out to us, and we'll give you some details on what we did from a processes perspective if you want to try to do this. Because I really highly recommend it. It is a magical experience. There's not a whole lot of things like it that happen anywhere. So if you're a fan of the show, highly recommend that you do it.
Yep.
Cool. Well, duties, thank you for listening to us on this journey. We'll come back with, maybe a guest. We haven't had a guest in a little bit, so we may have a guest in the next couple weeks. But yeah, thank you for listening to our New York adventures, because it truly was an awesome experience. William, thank you for making the trek back and forth to LaGuardia, because God knows that you deserve a medal in and of itself just for that. Maybe Lauren would have given you a spot just if he knew that you had to get on a 4 a.m. flight to go to LaGuardia Airport from Tulsa to LaGuardia.
It was worth it.
In and of itself, that deserves a spot in line right there. But all right, duties, have a great week, and
have a great week, duties.
Kiss your dad.
Bye.
Kiss your
mom. High five your brother.
Dad. Or your brother. I don't know. See
ya. Bye.